Hey everybody, how are you guys doing tonight? I'm going to go over the Hyman B. Leonard and Richard cost-benefit analysis defending. It's kind of a short article, a little bit to unpack. I'm going to go over kind of the cost-benefit analysis at first, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it is, essentially, and what I believe it is. It's kind of, there's a lot to it, and I won't cover it all. I'll cover a small majority of it. But so obviously, in a cost and benefit, just put BEN for short. That there's going to be costs and there's going to be benefits. Pretty simple, right there. So when you think about it, though, dollars can be attributed to items such as the cost of a human life. And that's what's argued against this and was argued in the piece that we put on a summary yesterday, is that you can't put a cost on a human life. So that's a big argument, and this is, let's say, $life. Yeah. So you can't put a cost on a human life. So that is a big argument against cost-benefit analysis. Another thing is that it's financially feasible to pursue something else, including tangibles and intangibles. So the idea is, okay, a life. So another example would be the benefit of a park on this. Let's go a social benefit, right? Social benefits. And we're going to compare that to, so social park to, let's say, theater, social theater. So you're comparing these two by monetary values. Now it's going to be hard to consider the social monetary value of people going to a theater and going to a park, but you can measure it, and they do. Some people do not agree with that, but they do measure things like that. So we'll jump into the article and talk about kind of the first thing he talks about is defending it, is compensation, and should people be compensated for the acts of others. And he says people should, and people are obligated to consider that in their cost-benefit analysis, that people should consider compensation. He also talks about measurability. So analysts can be effective tool for those who are otherwise not strongly empowered politically. So these analysis, what he's defending is he's saying that politicians that get their ways, that already have the money, don't care about stats. They're going to get their bills passed. But if you're a grassroots organization or somebody that is smaller and you don't have the power that these big companies do, you can use these stats to argue against them and argue for parks, instead of, let's say, this park could become a Walmart. Okay, well, the community can use stats about the park and if it is going to be more beneficial than Walmart. They could use a cost-benefit analysis of that. Obviously, too, the cost-benefit analysis goes into risk. So like your risk assessment, if somebody is going to, let's say, what's the cost and benefit of flying versus car? You can look at the cost of flying versus taking a car. Okay, how much time am I going to waste? How much gas is it going to cost? Is it going to be cheaper? You can do those economic things. You could change them around. Anyways, okay, getting a little off topic there. So I pulled up some things that they argued for right now for the cost-benefit analysis. So the first thing that they're arguing for now for the cost-benefit analysis is they're saying that rejecting the whole idea of the cost-benefit analysis is not the greatest idea. It's not going to work. Too many people rely on it, too many people like it, too many people value it, and it does work, they say. They say that they need to reform it, and that a major strategic error for the environmental movement is not trying to reform it, but trying to get rid of it completely. Excuse me. They also say discounting benefits do occur on future generations, and it's a mistake to not take that into account. So the idea being, let me erase some of this real quick. The idea being that over time, and the cost-benefit analysis is what is argued against one of the main things, and that's saying that over time that things aren't as important because of inflation. They don't cost as much money, so it's going to cost a lot more here than it is here. So if you have global warming, and it takes about 60 years to occur, let's say 60 years to occur a great cost. So the big boom, the great cost isn't going to come till here. Well, these costs are going to be considered a lot more than costs in the future. And that's putting it on your future generation. That's what they're talking about. And New Age cost-benefit analysis are saying that it's wrong to do that, and that we should consider long periods of time, and that we should consider our future generations. They say that it's a false method, and that a lot of people can't put these things in the cost-benefit analysis anymore. Another thing is the fault of the industry and the federal government. Cost-benefit analysis is a biased agent against regulation. So the idea there is that it's biased against regulation, so that it doesn't take into account regulation, which it does. It's hard to describe. We'll keep going here, though. Another thing that they call for is that they need the entire American public behind them. That we need to come together, in a sense, and fight global warming. We need to come together and figure out something that's going to work, instead of fear-mongering people. We have a moral obligation and compassion to do these. And the new cost-benefit analysis, that's what they are calling for, is to have compassion and a moral obligation written in these statements that we're talking about global warming and treating our environment better, is that it's our moral obligation. Because a cost obligation, it's hard for cost-benefit analysis to make morality judgments. That's why they say that no longer we can judge a life. It might be infinite, it might be worth $10. It's subjective. So the cost-benefit analysis is not made to tell you what a life is. So there's some intangible things that are moral obligations. And I believe that's correct. I believe that we have a moral obligation to do that, but it's hard to consider it in a costly means. Another thing is that efforts to put dollar values on non-marketable things in the real world, is that the right choice? Is that the right choice for us, is to put money on non-marketable things? And no, it isn't. I just said that. So the next thing that I'd like to talk about is a couple questions that I have for the class that you guys can answer below. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place with this cost-benefit analysis. I'm sorry. It was a short article, so I'm picking things to kind of jump to. So the first question I have for the class is, do you believe, do you believe in using the cost, I'll just put B, analysis? So that's the first question I have after talking about it and after reading the article, and you guys have written your summaries. Do you guys think it's the best option? Why or why not? And is there a better option? They use different options. Is there a better option for us? And my next question is, do you fear for our future generation, or are you more worried about right now? That's all I have for you guys. I hope that was enough and that it helped some of you guys with this. All right, have a great night.